Let's take a look at Sofi stock. I'm going to give both a bearish and a bullish outlook for the stock. The first thing to note is if we draw in the highs here, we seem to have been in a bit of a parallel channel with the lows going back to the 2022 bear market and the highs being in both 2021 and 2025. So the bearish take here would actually be that the stock really ought to go back to the bottom of the parallel channel around $7.3 at some point, as it has done in the past when you've tagged the top of the parallel channel. Let's dive a bit more into the actual price action. So what happened here recently? Well, we have a head and shoulders pattern here. Now, if we drew the head and shoulders pattern in, we would come to see that actually it seems like we've already broken down and this pattern has played out to the downside. Now look at that. It's actually perfectly played out. Price has reached the sort of $19 level. This is also where there's a gap on the chart. That would have been a nice level to buy, actually. And in fact, there's a couple of charts that look very similar to this, namely Meta and Palantir. So one has to wonder, are those patterns going to resolve in a similar way as they have done on Sofi stock? But regardless, okay, so we have a head and shoulders that's played out. That's actually a bullish sign. You know, we've come down to the target and we've actually reversed from that level. You can also see here there was a similar head and shoulders down here back in 2025, and you did head down in the sort of medium term, but afterwards you reversed heavily and put in this new all-time high. So that's another point for the bulls as well. So the other thing that I'm noticing is we do seem to be in a massive cup and handle pattern. If you see here, this is the cup and we're now putting in the handle. Now, typically these kind of patterns often resolve massively to the upside if they do play out. Now, of course, we'd have to see, it's okay if it chops around a bit here, but we would expect it to eventually go higher. If we're not able to put in some decent price action, if we continue to struggle and drop a lot, then you might favor the bear case a little bit more. So this is very interesting. There's a lot of bullish points that we need to consider. The bear case is simply that we've tagged the top of the parallel channel and are going to head lower. So in terms of price targets, it's a little bit hard to say exactly where we may end up if this were to break to the upside, but I do imagine around $45 would be a reasonable target to go for. That's not to say it's impossible that the stock could go higher. I think that's just a reasonable target that you're likely to hit if this pattern plays out to the upside. So we've got targets here of $45 or so, which would be a further 111% move. Now, obviously, the downside is also quite heavy here, with a potential for a 65% pullback. So depending on how the market goes, depending on how the stock does, how it performs with earnings and all the rest of it, there is potential here for a massive up move, but equally risk to the downside. So up to you whether you're more in the bullish camp or the bearish camp. I'm personally a bit more bullish on this stock, having seen the head and shoulders pattern play out and this massive cup and handle pattern. But I hope that's helpful for you guys. As always, taking an unbiased look at the chart, what does price seem to indicate we may be doing next? If you enjoyed, please do subscribe and leave a like on the video. It helps massively, and you'll be able to catch more of my chart analyses in the future. With that being said, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.